Hello, my name is Octavian Caisobeada, a Romanian apologist, currently living in upstate New York. I am a retired nurse practitioner, doctor of nurse practice. I teach apologetics at the VAXDE Institute of Apologetics and at the Baptist Theological Institute in Bucharest, Romania. And my work focuses on the relationship between Christian theology, philosophy, metaphysics, and the defense of Christian faith in the contemporary intellectual world, as well as the probability of the existence of the intelligent design, which is God. In the series Freedom Before God, I set out to address one of the most difficult and significant questions in Christian theology and philosophy. How should human freedom be understood in relation to God, divine sovereignty, and the problem of evil? And the first volume, The God of Freedom, a Classical Foundation, and the Metaphysics of Sovereignty, serves as a foundation for the entire series. I wrote this book from the conviction that many contemporary debates concerning free will, providence, and moral responsibility are often conducted without a sufficiently clear understanding of the nature of God. For this reason, before discussing human freedom, I consider it is necessary to return to the fundamental question, who is God? And before speaking about choice, we must first speak about existence, time, causality, and metaphysics. Now, in the first part of the volume, I attempt to show that every person lives and thinks within worldview, whether consciously aware of it or not. And metaphysics is not optional. All people operate with assumptions about reality, about God, freedom, and the nature of existence. And this is precisely why apologetic is not merely about quick answer to objection, but about the confrontation between competing worldviews. Now, the book then explores the tradition of classical theism, from its ancient philosophical roots and patristic development to its medieval synthesis, in order to recover the way historic Christian thought understood God. In this volume, I seek to present the divine attributes, not as merely theoretical abstraction, but as essential elements for the coherence of the Christian faith and for its intellectual defense in the contemporary world. A central emphasis of the book is a very difficult doctrine, and we're talking about the doctrine of divine aseity, with the idea that God exists to himself and depends on nothing external to himself. I argue that this doctrine is foundational for understanding divine sovereignty and the relationship between creator and creation. If God is the ultimate ground of existence, then all created reality exists in continuous dependence upon him. Now, at the same time, I attempt to address thoughtfully the philosophical and theological challenges this idea presents in discussions of the freedom and moral responsibility. Another important chapter is devoted to the doctrine of divine simplicity, and perhaps, again, one of the most difficult and misunderstood doctrines within the classical theism. Now, here I attempt to show that divine simplicity does not destroy the personality of God, but rather safeguard his unity, necessity, and perfection. I also discuss the relevance of the doctrine for modern debates concerning process theology, open theism, and contemporary conception of divine relationality. An essential portion of the volume is dedicated to the relationship between God and time. I analyze on my best ability the difference between the classical conception of a timeless God and modern models of a temporal God. And this discussion is not merely abstract. It directly influences the way we understand providence, divine foreknowledge, prayer, and human freedom. Now, in many respects, the question of time becomes one of the key to the entire debate concerning freedom. In the second part of the book, I turn towards the problem of human freedom, and I explain the difference between libertarianism and compatibilism, and attempt to clarify many of the confusion that frequently arise in apologetics. I discuss the relationship between divine foreknowledge and human freedom, the distinction between logical necessity and casual necessity, and the reason why mere knowledge of an event does not eliminate its contingent character. And finally, I address one of the most difficult theological questions. Is God the author of evil? Now, here I attempt to formulate a balanced position that simultaneously affirms divine sovereignty, human moral responsibility, and the goodness of God without simplistic reduction or superficial apologetic slogans. Through this first volume, I aim to offer the reader not merely answers, but a coherent conceptual framework for thinking more clearly about God, freedom, and reality. The God of freedom is, at its core, an invitation to serious metaphysical reflection and to the rediscovery of the depth of the classical Christian tradition. Now, this book, it's available on Amazon, Google Books, and Apple Books. And I hope to be a good reading and help for my students. And I can tell you that this book was meant to be translated, and it is translated, and it is already published in Romanian for my Romanian students as well. Thank you so much for your support and listening to this short presentation.